The Indian economy is not doing at all well, and that's been noticeable. It's been noticed not only within the country, it's been noticed outside the country. Compared to the high growth years that India witnessed between 2003 and 2007, growth has dropped dramatically, inflation rates are high, employment generation has not been taking place. There is a whole gamut of economic problems, and there is a diagnosis that many of these problems have happened, particularly because there has been an administrative kind of collapse. The delivery has not happened, there has been an implementation deficit, there has been profligate public expenditure, and these have tended to crowd out private consumption expenditure and private investment. Elections are now underway, and there will be a new government after the 16th of May. There are high expectations both inside the country and outside the country that this new government will introduce reforms. What should be the agenda for this new government? One of the arguments that comes out very strongly in this volume across a wide variety of sectors is the fact that center-state relations have to be rehabilitated. There has to be greater decentralization, there has to be greater devolution, and perhaps one way to do that is to relax the rigidity of many of these centrally sponsored schemes which have not really served a great deal of purpose. Therefore, to improve their efficiency, one needs to weaken and dilute the rigid central template. If there is one sector which has flagged considerably in the last few years, it is the infrastructure sector, particularly in areas like roads and electricity. To take but one example, infrastructure expenditure as a share of GDP in India today is probably around 7.5%. It ought to be something like 10%. It is not just a question of getting fresh investments in infrastructure. It is also a question of rehabilitating the stalled projects which have been stalled primarily because of land acquisition problems, because of forest clearances, because of environmental clearances. Another way of looking at the Indian growth problem is to argue that one is talking about greater efficiency in the usage of factor inputs, that may be land, that may be labor, that may be capital, and one is simultaneously also talking about productivity increases, because these are the various sources through which one gets increases in GDP growth.